Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Dani and V. We wanted to just hop on and start really having a conversation with you every single week about what we're going through, what the company is up to, and just a little bit about us and how we have some struggles too. And we want to be upfront and honest about that. And we really love talking to each other. So this is a good way for us to get to talk to each other more. So welcome in, and everybody say hi to Danielle.
Good morning, everyone.
So last night I was thinking about what I wanted to talk with you about today. And did you realize, okay, so I don't know if our viewers are going to realize this, but we didn't start MenoLabs all that long ago. It was just really the August of 2019 where we really got into the weeds of what this company would look like and incorporating and, filing all the paperwork and everything. And you can hear it playing overhead. Sorry, guys. And last February was when we sold our first bottle.
Yes, I know. Isn't that crazy?
It just occurred to me last night and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if Danielle remembers. It's only really been a year since we've been selling our products. That's crazy. So much has happened. I mean, in the world, of course, yes. Right? But
yeah,
I think
not even a month later, it's working remotely.
Exactly.
So, and that's really crazy, and it's really exciting because, there's been so much that's happened, with the company, with us. I mean, that over the last year, and to see it grow and to see the customers that we've been able to help has been such a uplifting thing for me personally through all of this and everything that's going on in the world right now. To be able to see all of the customers that we've actually been able to help with their symptoms and find some relief and help through menopause, that's been my light at the end of the tunnel. It really has. So that's been pretty cool.
I think, I wonder how I would have, oh God, I'm going to get emotional. Dang it. It's like really close to my period, guys. But I wonder how I would have processed the pandemic and losing my grandmother if I hadn't had this company to focus on, right? Mm-hmm. What I did before, I really loved my job before we started MenoLabs, but it wasn't like this all-consuming thing where I had to think about the business every single day, right? And every hour of the day. I feel like we think about this company every hour of the day. And I wonder, I got a feel for people who don't have something to keep their minds occupied. A lot of my friends are struggling right now because they don't have this sort of all-consuming thing that they're really invested in and passionate about to keep them, busy. And they start thinking about all the stuff that's going on in the world. And I think social media is maybe not helping, right? We get into those doom scrolls, and thank God for this company.
Yeah. Well, and I think about that often too, how busy we are all the time running this company and building the company and developing new products and stuff. And I think about the women that were already struggling with menopause too, as we hear from so many women that menopause in general is lonely for them. Just going through that process and that transition on its own, not even talking about bringing it into COVID too. And I think that introduces a whole new level of loneliness. And that's definitely one of the things that I think we wanted to make sure our products too, whether it's the energy or the increases there or anything, that helps the company or helps customers and helps women be able to deal with this. And I'd love to have just a conversation about even just, Vanessa, how have you dealt with certain issues that you've had, challenges you've had, and I think it helps too for other women to hear about to hear from other women that they're having a hard time too. Even as busy as I am, I still have my moments. I still have my moments of feeling lonely, still have my moments of feeling down, whether it's, feeling like we have this big, huge push as part of our mission is to open up communication especially about menopause, right? And that leads into, just being able to talk about what's going on with our bodies, whether it's with our husbands, whether it's with our significant other, whether it's with our best friend, whether it's just with a group of women, our bosses, we preach that message. And sometimes it even feels hard from someone who preaches it as a company mission, right?
Right.
Do it sometimes myself. I know I've had a few like emotional days this week where I've just been like, I should just reach out to Vanessa, but I don't want to bother her. But just to talk about the things that I have going on, and it's hard. It's hard as women, we feel like we have to be strong and we have to hold it together all the time. And
you bring up this really good point, because I was just reading this article in the New York Times this morning about how mothers and their emotional states are like at the lowest they've ever been, and I'm a mom, and my daughter is 23, almost 24, and it's still hard. It's still hard. And we have women on our staff who are moms, and they have school age kids who, can't be in school right now. So they're homeschooling and they're working, and, you can see the anxiety on their face some days in Zoom calls. And I mean, I can't imagine. It's hard enough. It is hard enough. And then you add these estrogen fluctuations, right, to the whole, like if you're past 35, oh boy, this is a time.
Yeah. Well, and as you're going through perimenopause, you bring up that point that women sometimes don't realize, and we talk about this, and it's hard to educate women that, starting at 35, your hormones start changing and you are entering into perimenopause. And most women don't recognize the initial signs. So, they don't realize that the weight gain that they're having is actually because it's perimenopause. You're heading into menopause. It's hormonal changes. Mood is a big one, that they start seeing changes in, and even the PMS, you think, oh, well, it's that time of the month and, my PMS is here, but you're noticing that it's different. It's more severe. It's, you feel a little more the B word, you're just more emotional, whatever the case is, I'm more of the emotion. I'll cry at anything. Right. So, and you start noticing, well, it's just worse, and that's part of perimenopause. And, that is something that, being able to be on our products and being able to help balance out those your estrogen and your hormones has been really helpful going through this, but there's still things that happen that change. And for me, I'm 40 years old. I'm on birth control. So, of course you can take our products with birth control, but I had to get my birth control changed out. I'm on an IUD. Well, guess what? After 5 years of it kind of wearing down on what it does to you and then getting a new one in, my hormones were out of whack no matter what I was doing, And of course that affected the family and that affected my mood. And, here I'm stressed with work sometimes and that doesn't help. And, I feel like I've cried every day for the last week. It's over silly stuff, but in the moment it doesn't feel silly, and that's the hardest part, I think with hormonal changes is we don't really realize it. My husband asked me, we were on a walk and we were talking one day, and he said he could tell that it was that time of month for me because of, how I was reacting to things and that kind of thing. I couldn't tell.
Right. You have no idea.
It was bothered me, made me emotional, whatever the case was. So he's sitting there, he's like, well, can't you tell? And I'm like, no, I can't. I just know it bothers me And you're going to have to deal with the fact that I felt that it bothered me. And yes, my emotions may be high or my hormones may be out of whack. And I'll come back to you in 2 days when I realize it. And then I'll say sorry. But I don't know. In the moment, you don't know, right? And that's, I think, what's so hard too about our hormonal changes that we go through, is because they affect our mood, they affect so many things, but we don't realize it in the moment, right?
Well, don't you know that you're being this way? Don't you understand that you did this? No, you don't. And I think when you can have that conversation with someone and really be honest about it and say, so here's what's going on with me, right? My hormones are changing because I'm getting older, and I don't always recognize that my behavior is being driven by forces outside of my control, because
Right.
that's really what it is. When I started talking about symptoms with my husband, who is, I got to tell you, one of the world's most understanding, thoughtful men, but even he did not, I didn't even know that perimenopause was a thing. So how could I expect him to, first of all? But when we started talking about it, and I started saying, remember that week where I was just off the charts, crazy, angry with everyone about everything? Guess what? I've realized this. And yeah, there are some steps you can take, but I mean, you can take our probiotics, and that's going to help recycle some of the estrogen that's already in your body so you can use it again and your hormone fluctuations don't go all over the place. But I mean, even then, it's a natural process. You're still going to lose estrogen as you get older. And you can help mitigate those fluctuations, but eventually your follicles are that whole process is going to end. And if you can't have an honest conversation about that process and that transition and what it's doing to your body, it would be like, menopause is not a disease, so I don't want to conflate it with this idea, but it would be like if you were going through cancer and you weren't honest with someone about what chemotherapy was doing to your body. The impacts are life altering. And just because it's a natural process doesn't mean that we should shove it under the table and not talk about it. So, I guess my long and short is be honest and open with the people in your life, because if you didn't even understand it, how can you expect them to?
Yeah. And, sometimes I have to remind myself this too, that I can't be afraid. And I think sometimes we become afraid even to talk about it afterwards, especially if it like blew up into a fight and blah, blah, blah. And now it's eased itself, and it's okay. You don't want to bring it back up. You don't want to open old wounds, whatever the case is. But I have to remind myself that, I can't be afraid to bring it back up and to acknowledge that I've realized something so that I can share that realization, with my kids. Even I'll share it with my kids. Hey, I know I overreacted the other day. And you know what? It wasn't really that big of a deal, but mom has been going through some emotional stuff or my hormones, and explaining to them what hormones is, especially my daughter, and so she can understand as she's, gone through puberty or going through puberty, she's a teenager. And so she can understand what those differences are. And maybe she can even do that for herself as she's going through puberty and take a step back and say, okay, maybe I reacted that way because it was my time for my period, and, understanding what PMS really is. And I can help her too as a young adult and as a teenager. So, leading by example in that way, just trying to show her too. And then, as you were talking about it, I want to help women understand too. And I love the idea that we're going to do this because Vanessa and I talk all the time, and we have all this knowledge built up, and we can only relay that knowledge so well through different, whether it's through our social media channels or from our website or, blog articles, but it doesn't show. I feel like there's something more that we can show you guys and offer to you guys and explain and show you guys that, we're not perfect, and that we've gone through these things and we've found some things that have helped us, even if it's something else, like talking about, I personally, meditate to kind of help myself through stress and stuff like that. Because yes, a supplement isn't going to help with all of my stress. There's still so much more, And so, but when you were talking about hormones, Vanessa, I want to point out to women too that, as you're on this estrogen decline through menopause, you think like it's going like this.
Yeah, that's not the case.
That's not the case. It's going like this, right? What we've tried to do is make it so it goes like this. It's little bumps, through the decline instead of the roller coaster that is the decline, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I hope women can, experience that, naturally, and that's been one of our big pushes. I personally want a natural option. I'm big on, natural therapies and stuff like that. I still, of course, take prescriptions when I need to and all that stuff. But I just believe anytime I can do it naturally, why wouldn't I, right? With natural ingredients,
Well, and menopause is, again, not a disease. It's a natural process in your body. So you should be able to, affect it with other natural processes that occur in the body. Right? It makes sense.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, our body does all kinds of kind of wacky, crazy things as we're on this roller coaster. And, the body does a great job, though. If you actually truly dive in and understand all the things that your body does, we take it for granted. Like, it does so much for us inside, just the way that it processes, the fiber and feeds the probiotics. I mean, just if you break down all of the things that your body's doing inside there. And I think that's been one of the exciting things for me too. I love learning about that stuff. And so our research and stuff into the microbiome and how the probiotics are helping the microbiome and then triggering the brain, and all of the research that we're doing around that and how much the microbiome actually helps women in menopause and helps with certain symptoms and the different strains of probiotics. Each of our probiotics has slightly different strains because they help different things. So that's why you would, we get a lot of questions. What is Meno versus MenoGlow? Well, they have slightly different probiotics and they have slightly different ingredients to help slightly different scenarios. As much as we tried to make a one pill fits all, and as you can see, like MenoFit has 28 ingredients. We tried to do as much as we could, but sometimes you couldn't fit everything into it, right?
Well, and every woman's menopause is going to be different. So yes, we're probably all going to have some experience with hot flashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even for me, night sweats were a big deal before I started taking a probiotic. So, but not every woman has the same concerns. One woman may really be concerned about weight loss, whereas another woman, that's not an issue for her. It's really important that we take our products and address the major symptoms that we're pretty sure every woman is going to have, and then like chunk them out to address different concerns. And so I think it was a smart approach. Because when we talk to women, they tell us, right, I want a solution that's geared toward my specific concerns. So, I mean, in terms of research and development, that's what we're focused on, is making sure that we can help as many women as possible. I think you're going to be really excited by some of the developments we have coming for 2021. We can't talk about them yet because they're still in research and development, but man, we're so excited.
Yes. There's some cool things coming down the pipeline, and just how can we enhance everyone's their menopause journey? That's our mission, is to make your journey the best that you can be, and to bring out that inner goddess, because we believe in that every woman is a goddess, and sometimes she just feels a little frumpy, and we gotta let her shine. Sometimes
you are super angry. You know what? there are goddesses who embody anger and acting positively on that anger, right?
Yeah.
So, I think as women, we are often taught that all of these negative emotions are not appropriate for us to feel, are not appropriate for us to act on. And I call bullshit. I call BS, because there are a lot of women in the world taking their anger and their frustration and their sadness and channeling it into effective strategies for changing the things around them that they're angry and frustrated and sad about. And I think that's exactly what Danielle and I are doing. And I just want to encourage you, if you're watching, you can take those emotions. I could sit here and talk to each other for ages and ages and ages, but we know you guys don't have that kind of time. And we're going to come back and do this once a week anyway, because as Danielle said, we have so much knowledge. In the last year and a half, we have really gone down the rabbit hole on what's happening in women's bodies in midlife, how you can improve what's happening in your body, how you can mitigate some of the horrible side effects. We have done lots of research. We have so much information and knowledge now. And as Danielle said, it's important that we share it with you in a conversational way. You maybe don't have time to read 10 blog posts about a certain topic. You just want to get some information. That's what we're here to do. We're here to try to help you figure out what's going on, share some of what we've learned. And, if you have questions, you can always ask questions in the comments. We'll come back. We'll try to answer them next week or in the following weeks. And make sure you join us on our app, because our conversations on the app are really fantastic. And I think you're going to really like what you see there. So if you don't have the app already, make sure you download it. It's MenoLabs, and you can get it on iOS and Android devices, because every single woman should get help with this transition.
Well, be your inner goddess, ladies, and we're excited to talk to you again next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.